Hello there, Ray here. I'll be showing you guys today our wither-powered mushroom farm. This farm was made by 1011 as well as myself a couple years ago, and recently we updated it and built it up onto the ProtoTech server. The way that the farm works is that inside here we'll have large mushrooms that will be growing upwards, and once they have grown up, the withers over here will automatically destroy them, and then they'll drop the brown mushroom items, which is going to be collected up and put into a chest for us. This farm is extremely fast and very efficient, producing over 21,000 brown mushrooms per hour. And there's two different modes to this type of farm. We can either have the player place the mushrooms, or we can allow the game to naturally grow mushrooms and place them into the exact spot where the mushrooms will then be bone meal. So what we have here is a couple of seed mushrooms, and these guys will allow the mushrooms to spread, and they can spread over here on top of this block, and once they do spread there, they will just be put right in front of these dispensers, which are going to bone meal, and that is another way to get the mushroom into that position and get it grown up so that the withers can destroy it. And using that last method, you don't even have to have players on your server. Therefore, this farm can be running 24/7 on servers without anyone on it. So what we have here is 9 withers, and they are taking up this grid, which is a 9 by 9 grid. And these withers are covering the entire area where a giant mushroom will grow. The way the giant mushrooms grow is that they just make sure that there is no blocks in the way. So there's no blocks here for the stem to grow, and they also make sure there's no blocks up here where the mushroom wants to go. And it usually has to leave about 1 air gap, so it doesn't grow at the very top of their hair, but it grows right down here. And because there's no blocks in the way, it's able to grow here. But what it doesn't check for is entities. This is very similar to the farm that I did with KK, where we made a quadruple oak tree farm with withers, because we could put withers directly inside of where the tree would grow, as they don't check for withers since they are not blocks. And the trees and the mushrooms can grow right directly inside them. So if we go ahead and plant another mushroom, you'll see that the mushroom grows all the way over here, and the withers are able to destroy it. And to make sure we destroy all the blocks, we even have some withers on the outside edges, even if there's just a couple blocks for them to destroy. The size of the cap of the brown mushroom is always the same, but the height can vary. But we are limiting the brown mushroom's height just to this one height right here. The way the mushroom is being grown is that we have 4 dispensers on all sides to quickly grow up the mushroom. And these dispensers are being fed by some hoppers and a chest on either side, which contains some bone meal. As the mushroom grows and breaks off, you can see that we have a hopper minecart that is going zigzagging across the entire area, picking up all the mushrooms that have dropped onto the ground. Hopper minecart will come over here to this unloading station. This is a double unloading station using 2 hoppers to unload it, so that it is able to unload very quickly, as this thing produces tons of mushrooms. So we need to make sure we unload the minecart as fast as possible, otherwise it won't be able to keep up. The entire farm is placed inside of the bedrock of the nether ceiling. And what we did is removed all the bedrock underneath of this so that there's no jagged edges like you would normally see. That way there's a clean area for the mushrooms to grow. Now we did build this up on the ProtoTech server in 1.12, in which case we used dragon eggs to break the bedrock on the sides. But that's not actually necessary, as this is just for looks. The most important bedrock to remove is the ones underneath, which can still be done in 1.13. And the same method that we used to break this type of bedrock underneath can still work in 1.13. And down in the description I'll put a bunch of links to different types of bedrock breaking methods that you can use to break this bedrock. The withers themselves are inside of the bedrock, therefore the blue wither skulls are not going out and destroying anything. They're exploding immediately inside of the bedrock. The withers themselves are being damaged by this damaging system that I came up with, which allows precise damaging and also avoids them from accidentally destroying the block that damages them. If I learn more about wither damaging systems, I did an entire video going over that topic in great detail. So essentially what we have here is a block that is being held up in the air, and then it's put down and then to the side, and it's put into their head for a short period of time, and then is removed, and then 1 second after the wither has taken damage from the block, he'll actually do his block breaking ability, which he will destroy blocks in the area around him. And this way he's able to destroy the mushroom, but they're not able to destroy the obsidian here. All these systems are hooked up to a timer which goes back here, and by keeping a precise timing we're able to not allow any of the blocks to get destroyed by the withers. We also have a chicken above the withers. This gives the withers a target for their main heads, and that way they don't accidentally look and see players off to the side and trying to use them as their main head target. In which case they could have a rare chance of shooting off a blue wither skull if you didn't have that chicken up there. And if they shoot a blue wither skull, they could shoot it kind of upwards and destroy this obsidian above them and escape. And if I learn more about proper wither cages, I did do an entire video about those, which I'll link down in the description. Down underneath the farm is the main spot where the player will be. There is an on and off switch. This will turn off the dispensers here, which are shooting bone meal towards the center. This also goes around and will turn off the hopper minecart. So the hopper minecart will just sit up here and it won't keep moving back and forth. And the wiring also goes all the way around and will turn off the damaging system, which goes up to the withers. And that way they're not constantly making a noise. So when the player does operate the farm, you operate it from underneath. You can let those mushrooms grow normally, or you can operate this having a player place down the mushrooms. We use the same kind of trick that we showed with our quadruple oak tree farm, where we have a player riding on something, so that way he's able to access the dirt block without having the player having to waste room on the sides where we could put into more dispensers. So we're able to put 4 dispensers in. If I click on this boat, I'm inside of where the dispensers are dispensing. You can see all 4 dispensers are here, and I'm able to also place down mushrooms. Looking downwards and then right clicking. What I got is the mushrooms in my offhand and some food source in my right hand, and this way we can actually do this in survival and keep the player's health all the way up. I also got a resistance 2 beacon as well as a regeneration beacon. This will prevent the player from dying because he does take some suffocation damage in this farm, very similar to the quadruple oak tree farm. And if you don't want to have the beacons or have the player take damage or need food, you can just remove one of the dispensers and have the player AFKing on the side. But if you use this system, all you do is aim downwards and then right click, and what he'll do is use your food first, and then secondly he will plant any mushrooms that he has in his offhand. And what is happening is my player is planting a mushroom, and the mushroom is growing, and then it's moving the entire block upwards, and then it's getting harvested by the withers. And with this up here, it's actually possible to continue the setup without the player ever dying. If you would want to have the player resupplied with mushroom items so he can plant continuously, you can always pipe the loots that which come out over there back over here to the player and drop them out using a dropper. You can do the same thing using a food source if you want to have that as well. And just by dropping the items kind of close to the player, you should be able to pick those up and use them. So I'll kind of show you what's going on. What happens is the mushroom is planted, and then what it does is it pushes the white stem upwards. Since there is an air gap up here, it's able to push upwards, and then what happens is the brown as well as the white mushrooms are all destroyed. Notice how the rest of the stem gets pushed to the side. So I push it over, you see it goes up and then over to the side, and then it goes back up again. And this way we're able to eventually destroy all the stem. Let's watch that again. It goes up, over, and then up. Now 1.13, they made it so that the white mushroom blocks will no longer produce any type of mushrooms like the items. So by moving them off to the side and having the wither destroy them, they won't drop any items, but we are able to get them out of the way, so they're not affecting the next mushroom's growth. Now the mushroom items break and they will fall down. Sometimes they'll land on top of these fence posts, but the next mushroom will occupy that space and therefore pushing the items off. Also, all items that end up over on top of all this here will eventually get pushed off as well. The only spot where the items will sometimes get stuck is on top of this block here. And it's usually not too many, so you don't really have to worry about it. Now the way that we detect the system to push the mushrooms up is we have a bud over here, and this bud will tell when the mushroom block grows up beside it, and then it will activate the bottom piece down here, which will do the whole pushing. So I'll go ahead and show you guys. You can see that bud activates over there, and then it resets. What that does is it just sends power over here, down underneath here, and it goes around here, and it just goes to a couple different things. Some pistons which send some power upwards, and then we got some pistons over here which will push this dirt block upwards, so that way we can push the blocks over to the side. And we also got some rails which are all detected by observers, and these just go to some pistons which push everything upwards. The redstone is actually very simple. As you can see, there's just some little redstone here, a little bit of redstone here, and a little bit of redstone up here. Nothing too complicated. This farm would be considered a pretty simple farm, other than you have to do a bunch of bedrock breaking. Now this farm is designed for brown mushrooms only, because the way red mushrooms work is that they'll check where they're going to be planted, and in different versions the red mushrooms check different areas, but essentially the areas they check are occupied by different things in this farm, so therefore you can't use this farm for red mushrooms. I'm hoping to update it so it works for red mushrooms someday. And then when you're not using it, there is that switch again where you can just turn everything off. And now everything should be a little bit quieter. The withers will once in a while go ahead and shoot off random skulls, but it won't be as noisy if you're always damaging them. So the toughest part about the farm is breaking that bedrock, which you can watch those videos on showing how you could do that. And the second hardest part is summoning in the withers. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how you can do that. So to summon the withers in, what you'll want to do is to put in the T shape for the wither down here, just above this nether brick post here. And then what you do is you put the heads over here. Before you do that, you want to make sure that you have a bucket of lava with you, because what you'll need to do is you need to stop the wither from exploding and causing damage to everything around it. Because typically what you want to do is build this whole thing and then put the withers in last. So what you want to do is you want to have either a friend help you by sitting on top like we did on the ProtoTech server, and then placing in the lava shortly after the wither is summoned, or you could do it yourself if you just have a hole through the bedrock. So what you want to do is put in the skulls down below here, and then after the wither has been summoned, then you want to put in the lava. You don't want to put the lava in prior, otherwise what will happen is he can clip through this obsidian and escape. It's a really strange bug, but you can see you put the lava in later, he's just fine. And then you can either scoop up that lava or just have the wither will destroy it once you turn the machine on. And you just do that to each of the withers, and then you eventually get all 9 of the withers in place. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Make sure you do have this target up here. You might have to put it kind of high so that when the withers do their explosion, when they are summoned in, they don't accidentally kill this guy. And if they do kill him, just go ahead and put in a new guy. I have provided the world download to this very world in the description, so you guys can build this up in your very own survival world. If you have any questions about this build, you can always ask them down in the comments and I'll try to answer them. A very fast and efficient brown mushroom farm, which you can use to make those fermented eyes, mushroom stews, rabbit stews, or even your suspicious stews. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video, and check out other similar farms I designed using the playlist I made. And if you guys haven't already, be sure to go ahead and subscribe. And I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!